You ever notice something strange about organized crime? It's never just one guy, never just the trigger man. There's always the driver, the lookout, the accountant, the cousin who didn't see anything, the auntie who says, let's not talk about that tonight. Everybody claims innocence, but somehow the body still ends up in the trunk. That's your family system. That's your toxic workplace. That's that friend group you keep trying to fix. You weren't surrounded by misunderstandings. You were surrounded by accomplices. Tonight, we're looking at the monster. We're looking at the people who kept the monster fed, clothed, and socially acceptable. Let's open the file. Case number 04, The Handlers.
Reclassification, systemic glossary.
Let's clean up the language first. Language is how they hide, and we don't let predators hide behind soft words. From this point forward, we call things what they are. Enabling equals logistical support. Keeping the peace equals silencing the witness. Staying neutral equals protecting the aggressor. If someone consistently protects the person hurting you, they are not neutral. They are operational. And operational means involved. You understand?
The banality of evil, evidence suppression.
Most damage isn't done by the villain. It's done by the regular-looking people who keep the villain functional. Evil doesn't survive on power alone. It survives on administration. Not the one screaming, the one saying, maybe don't make it worse. Because what they mean is, don't make it visible. Don't make it undeniable. Don't force a consequence into the room. Not the one hitting you. The one saying, that's just how they are. A sentence that turns violence into weather. As if abuse is a season you're expected to dress for. Not the one lying. The one saying, let's keep this in the family. That's not privacy. That's jurisdiction. That's a closed court where the predator is the judge. And watch the choreography. They don't ask what happened. They ask, what did you do to trigger it? They don't demand the violence stop. They demand your reaction soften. They call you divisive for naming the fracture. They call you dramatic for describing the damage. They call you unforgiving because you won't sign the silence agreement. They don't protect peace. They protect access. They protect routine. They protect the predator's ability to keep moving through society with clean hands. That's not peacekeeping. That's evident suppression. It's the sanitization of a scene while the victim is still in it. It's the immediate impulse to restore normal, even if normal is what's killing you. History already proved this. Every atrocity had paperwork, signatures, secretaries scheduling the meetings, neighbors who didn't want trouble, not because they didn't know, because knowing would require action. Nobody pulled the trigger, but everybody loaded the gun. Someone bought the rope, someone closed the curtains, someone called it complicated, and the system kept breathing because ordinary people kept supplying it oxygen. If you're being asked to move on while the wound is still open, you're not being guided towards healing. You're being managed back into silence. Because the banality of evil isn't the monster. It's the clipboard beside the monster. It's the calm voice saying, let's not make a scene.
It's purely an optics issue now.
Handler type the PR department.
We deeply regret any misunderstanding.
Every predator has a reputation launderer. Not because the predator is lovable, because the predator is liability. They don't want truth, they want optics. Truth creates consequences. Optics creates continuity. They are the ones who manage the story of the harm. They don't deny the behavior outright. They dilute it. They say, he's not that bad. They say, you know how she gets. They say, that's just stress. They say, he didn't mean it like that. Listen carefully. They speak in buffers and qualifiers and insurance clauses. And pay attention to the sentence they never use. The sentence that would end the operation. That behavior is unacceptable. Because if they say that, they have to do the next thing. They have to enforce. They have to confront. They have to choose. So instead, they manage you. They coach you on tone. They edit your words. They reframe your alarm as emotion. They don't ask, what did he do? They ask, how can we keep this calm? They don't ask, are you safe? They ask, can you be the bigger person? They exist to keep the system looking normal, to keep holidays scheduled, group chats intact, business running, photos taken, smiles posted. They don't fix abuse. They rebrand it. They take violence and give it a softer name. Miscommunication, temper, rough patch, family stress. They are brand managers for a collapsing empire. They don't ask to stop the leak. They repaint the ceiling. In a corporation, that's spin control. In a courtroom, it's something older and uglier. Witness tampering. Not with threats, with concern. Not with force, with narrative. They don't silence you by telling you to shut up. They silence you by making your truth sound inappropriate. And if you refuse the edit, if you insist on naming it plainly, they don't call you honest, they call you dangerous.
Did you hear anything? No.
Handler type the logistics crew.
These ones don't argue about morality. They handle operations. They don't need to believe the predator is right. They just need the machine to keep running. They provide the infrastructure, money, housing, alibis, rides. But that's the clean version. Here's what it looks like in the field. They drive him to your house. They pick him up after he lost control. They pay his bills so consequences never touch him. They let him sleep on their couch so he can reload. They run interference. They create fog. They move objects, schedules, people, like a crew resetting a stage between scenes. They lose your message. They forget to pass along warnings. They invite him to the same dinner as you, by accident, of course. They seat you strategically. They trap you socially. They hold your phone for safekeeping. They keep you calm by keeping you cut off. They stand in doorways. They block exits with politeness. They turn the room into a hallway with no doors. They tell you to calm down when he circles you. They say, not right now, when you try to speak. They say, don't embarrass them when you try to leave. They say, they've had a hard life, like your nervous system is a charity. And when you finally react, when your voice rises, when your hands shake, they document that. They don't document the hit. They document the bruise that talk back. They aren't clueless. They are the fuel line. They are the safe house, the getaway car, the clean clothes, the rehearsal space. Abusers can't operate in a vacuum. They require support and cover. They require continuity. They require a world where the victim can't prove it and the predator never has to pay for it. So understand the math. No logistics, no operation. No cover, no repeat performance. No pipeline, no predator with a stable platform. Cut the fuel, and the engine doesn't learn. It stalls. It panics. It exposes itself trying to restart.
Did you hear about him? It's all over the group chat.
I know.
Handler
look at
type.
this picture.
The flying monkey contractors.
Wait, I can't believe they're saying that about you.
These aren't loyal. They're available. They're the kind of people who hear a siren and run towards it. Not to help, but to be near the story. They don't need a paycheck. Attention is enough. Relevance is enough. A feeling of being in the know is enough. They gossip for sport. They collect crumbs of information like trophies. They repeat the predator's version because it gives them a role. Messenger, judge, hero. They show up smiling, asking questions that aren't questions. I'm just checking on you. How are you holding up? And every answer becomes supply for the next meeting. They don't realize their weapons, but in this investigation, intent doesn't matter. Impact does. Because what they do is simple. They extend the predator's reach. They do the harassment with clean hands. They carry the smear campaign like a casserole dish. They don't hit you, they frame you. They don't stalk you, they run into you. They don't threaten you, they express concern. They don't demand silence, they ask you to be the bigger person. They float trial balloons. People are saying, I heard you've been, I don't know if it's true, but that sentence is a weapon with a silencer. If they spread the lie, they are part of the strike. If they pressure you to forgive, they are part of the containment unit. If they deliver his message, they are part of the delivery system. They are the predator's outsourced nervous system, his eyes, his ears, his echo, unpaid, unaccountable, and proud of their proximity to violence, as long as it never touches them. Call them what they are: contractors, disposable assets, social ammunition, unpaid mercenaries.
The forensic truth. The room is the weapon.
Here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. Sometimes the predator isn't the scariest person in the room. The room is. Because the room has history. The room has agreements you never signed. The room has rules written in invisible ink. One predator is manageable. A network is systemic. A network has redundancy. A network can lose one node and keep functioning. You weren't crazy for feeling outnumbered. You weren't too sensitive. You weren't spiraling. You were reading the math correctly. You were dealing with distributed power. You were dealing with harm that had been outsourced. You weren't in a disagreement. You were inside an operation. Because every time you named the violence, someone else managed the optics. Someone else managed the schedule. Someone else managed the narrative. Someone else managed you. You weren't arguing with the person. You're arguing with PR, polishing the story. Logistics, engineering the proximity. Contractors relaying messages like drones. And family loyalty, that ancient religion that demands your silence as tribute. And that's why it felt impossible, because it was asymmetrical. You were asking for accountability. They were protecting continuity. You were speaking in reality. They were speaking in system maintenance. So when you tried to leave, it wasn't just the predator who pulled you back. It was the room with its guilt rituals and nostalgia traps and emergency meetings disguised as love and concern. And the most violent thing a network can do isn't attack you. It's convince you the attack is your fault.
The bind, why you couldn't just leave.
Here's what you need to understand. You didn't stay because you liked it. You stayed because the system built a bind. Abuse isn't held together by love. It's held together by leverage. They didn't just hurt you. They built conditions where leaving cost you everything at once. They made your nervous system the hostage negotiator. They trained you to measure safety by mood. They trained you to scan faces like weather reports. And then they added the glue. Intermittent kindness, a soft apology, a good week, a holiday where they behave. That's not change. That's intermittent reinforcement. The same mechanism that keeps people at slot machines. They didn't give you peace. They gave you hope on a schedule. And the room helped. The room always helps. They layered it with obligation. After everything we've done for you, they layered it with fear. You'll ruin the family. They layered it with shame. Why would you air us out like this? They didn't just want silence. They wanted you to feel criminal for speaking. So, you weren't just stuck in a relationship. You were stuck in a jurisdiction, a private court, a closed system. And every time you tried to leave, the system didn't ask, what happened to you? It asked, what will it cost you if you go? That's the bind, not confusion, not love, leverage.
Did you hear about
The
the target?
extinction burst when the system loses control.
So I told him straight up, you can't sit with us.
Here's a part you need to be warned about. When you withdraw access, the system spikes. Not because you're wrong, because the machine is starving. This is called an extinction burst. When a behavior stops working, it gets louder before it dies. So, expect it. The apologies get poetic. The accusations get vicious. The concern gets organized. They'll offer closure, which is translation for reentry. They'll offer therapy, translation, a moderator to reframe you. They'll offer meetings, translation, a tribunal. They'll offer gifts, translation, a receipt. And when none of this works, they pivot to punishment. They don't miss you, they miss control. So, if it escalates when you leave, don't mistake that for proof you were wrong. That's proof you touched the nerves.
The countermove disconnect.
We don't just diagnose, we execute. Stop trying to convince handlers. Handlers don't respond to truth. They respond to threats to the system. Truth is irrelevant to them. Truth is disruptive. So don't debate, don't explain, do not plead. Because every explanation is a blueprint. Every plea is proof you can be pulled back in. Every emotional paragraph is a map to your soft spots. You don't negotiate with infrastructure. You disconnect from it. You don't ask a surveillance system to respect your privacy. You leave its coverage area. Concrete moves. Unromantic. Effective. Stop confiding in shared friends. Stop just venting to mutuals. They are not neutral. They are conduits. Stop seeking validation from their family. They are not a jury. They are the defense team. Stop attending closure meetings. This isn't closure. That's re-entry. Build new networks outside their reach. New rooms, new witnesses, new references for what normal feels like. And expect turbulence. The moment you disconnect, the system will escalate. Not because you're wrong, because you're working. You don't fix corrupt systems from the inside. You exit it. And you don't exit politely. You exit completely.
The translation protocol check.
Say it with me. Clear. Because their language is the camouflage and your translation is clear, is the exit route. You understand? They speak in euphemisms to keep the machine running. We speak in facts that shut it down. They were just trying to help. Translation. They were running interference for the aggressor. They didn't want drama. They wanted silence more than safety. They stayed out of it, meaning they secured the perimeter and called it neutrality. It's complicated, meaning it's coordinated. So, when the mask slips, the lines get sweeter, more spiritual, more reasonable. They meant well, meaning they meant to preserve the system. They're under a lot of stress, meaning stress is being used as a permit for harm. You know how they are, meaning you are being trained to tolerate the intolerable. Be the bigger person, meaning become smaller so the pattern can continue. Let it go, meaning let them keep it unexamined and unpaid for. Here's the rule. If someone protects abuse, it is clear they are not confused. It is clear they are complicit. Confusion delays action. Complicity sustains harm. Call it correctly, because mislabeling is how the operation stays operational. Are we clear?
The verdict, findings of fact.
Listen carefully. You are not on trial here. You are the witness. You don't need more people to understand. You need fewer people with standing, fewer people with access. You don't need closure. You need separation. You don't need the family to see your side. You need the record to reflect reality. Because once you withdraw access, observe the pattern. It repeats. The predator escalates, not out of love, out of entitlement. The PR arm activates. They don't ask what they did. They ask what you might tell. The logistic arm mobilizes. Rides, meetings, apologies by proxy, anything that reopens contact. The contractors appear checking in. People are worried. A wellness check dressed as surveillance. Why? Because your absence creates exposure. So let the court note that this was not a misunderstanding. It was coordinated maintenance of harm. Let the court note you were not the problem. You were the buffer they hid behind. You were the translator they used to make violence sound reasonable. The stabilizer they demanded so the room could keep pretending. And when you left, the mask slipped. Not because you destroyed anything, because you stopped testifying against yourself. Case file 04, the handlers. Findings, complicity established. Record, pattern, corroborated. Order, no further access granted. Directive, maintain distance. Preserve evidence. Do not re-enter the scene. I am Wolfie.
I find the defendant guilty on all counts. This court is adjourned.
Welcome to the resistance.